Hey friends, we are continuing our journey on trying to be a better listener, but don't you know that trying does not work? We have to lean into God's grace for us, and we have to lean into His heart, and why we can really miserably fail at being a good listener, yet still love another person. But listening is a skill. It takes practice. It also takes, you have to be very patient with yourself. I remember when I realized that I am not a good listener at times. And I wrote a whole chapter in my book, Sacred Spaces, because I wanted to explore. I wanted to say, why is this so important? And yet it's such a lost art. Listening in today's society, it's like hardly even there. Everyone is just telling their opinions and their whatever. We are just so loud. But in the silence, in the listening, my goodness, I think that's where a lot of healing takes place. So let's read. I'm in Sacred Spaces, and this is one of my favorite books that I have written. I'm a writer, and to write is like breathing to me. I love it. And you can find this on Amazon. I'm so thankful to write. It is such a blessing, and I hope it's a blessing to you. Okay, so let's continue on listening, right? So sometimes it's not preoccupation, because I did talk about how we can have our own anxious thoughts or rehearsing our thoughts, and different things can be hindrances to listening. But let's look at this. Okay, sometimes it's not preoccupation that keeps us from listening, but simply priority. In a task-driven society, we just don't have the mental capacity to listen without radically shifting our priorities. In a fast-paced culture, listening just doesn't happen. Expressing our opinions holds higher importance when time is of the essence. My goodness. Wow. So listening, in this culture, wow. We can't overlook the importance. We know that listening allows us to feel seen. Listening allows us to feel heard. It creates a sacred space where understanding can blossom, even if you disagree. I did a video on how disagreement is actually desirable when there's a grace for it. It helps us to realize boundaries where one person ends and the other begins, so that there can be authentic relationship. But listening in today's fast-paced culture, you have to prioritize listening. You have to prioritize your relationships. You have to set aside time. And it doesn't, my husband and I tried things where we were going to sit at the table at a certain time, but it felt very forced and awkward. And so we learned actually sometimes doing activities. We're both a little more introverted. And so sometimes when we go on a walk, we'll naturally talk, or just to do an activity that naturally fosters an environment for communication. So that is helpful. So yeah, these are thoughts on listening. Also, okay, people that are extra chatty, and I want to preface it with this. You don't have to be an extrovert to be extra chatty. I am an introvert, but I am an expressive introvert. And so one way that I feel a release of tension in my heart is to talk. And my husband, who wants to unwind and kind of mind dump, in the evening after a long day suddenly has me talking a lot. But I actually thought about this, and so keep in mind, not only interrupting is rude, but also incessant talking. Raise your hand, chatty hats. The person who is listening becomes a captive listener, essentially held hostage until the ad nauseum thought of the other is completed. Oh my goodness. I go on and on. I tell you what, because I'm a writer too, I can just, I have like the AMP version of every story. You know how there's the AMP version of the Bible, which I love? Well, every story of mine is like exploring every thesaurus word. I am an expressive, I am a chatty hat. So sometimes it's good, especially with people, it's good to kind of wrap it up. Full disclosure, I've been guilty of this. I can just hear my patient husband applauding as I confess this thought.
Yes!
Sorry for all my incessant talking while watching movies. Voracious time wasters are just as inconsiderate as interrupting time clippers, right? So both are rude. We can have a time waster because you keep talking and you're not leaving a sacred space for the other, or if you interrupt someone and they have not finished their thought, that can also be detrimental to listening. So really, it's self-awareness. Self-awareness, it's such a practice skill. Self-awareness also helps us to have self-control in the moment. Self-awareness helps us to have self-control in the moment. If you think about it, if we live in the Spirit, we want to keep in step with the Spirit, in the grace that He gives us, in the moment, in the hour. He will give us power to rule our own soul through the Holy Spirit, through the power of self-control. And really, self-control and listening, they are little power partners. They are friends. So I hope you're enjoying this listening journey. I just wanted to come on here for a snippet. I love to talk about different things. I love reflective thoughts, and you're a bright spot in my life. So thank you for listening. I hope this is enjoyable, enriching your relationships and your everyday life. Hope you have a great day.